this was the most important thing. It was Somalia, and it was his Africa. That's what they say in the documentary a lot, Dan's Africa. And it really was. And people just loved Dan, and Dan was just an inspiration to everyone. But he wasn't as big of an inspiration until he died. And after he died, after he was stoned to death by an angry mob for going to take pictures of a bombing of, there was a building, and these very important people of the Somalian were having a meeting, and Dan went to go cover it with a bunch of other journalists, and he was stoned to death by the mobs, and him and like 5 other people were running from him, and 4 of them died, including Dan. And what gets me all the time is like, he had like a flak jacket, which would prevent him from being like bullets and stuff, and he had to like throw it off to run from the people. And then so it's just really tragic how he died, and he was only 22 years old, and obviously you can tell he was a vibrant, good looking young man, and it's just so tragic. And then what happened was his mom and sister kind of found his journals, and they thought they would share it with with the world, because they knew there was something left, and Dan's spirit had to be carried on. So they published his journals, and millions and millions of people from there have taken Dan's inspiration and run with it. And there's a documentary that they're watching in the other room called Calling Safari is the Way of Life, and it interviews a bunch of people that have just been touched by Dan. And I had an opportunity to go to New York, and this woman has turned her gallery and put a section of her art gallery. We don't know if she still has it, but she had dedicated it to Dan, and she had Dan's journals, she had Dan's letters that he wrote home, these are Dan's pictures, and she had Dan's cameras, and I was able to hold one of Dan's cameras. And this picture I've seen so many times, but it just always gets to you, and that's Dan's picture. And to me, I remember just sitting and reading his journals, because I had this book, and just looking at it and going, what did he see? You know, all these things, and a lot of it is just, some of it's really funny, and some of it's cute and humorous, but then you get to some stuff that's just kind of scary. And that's what he dealt with, and that's what he saw, and it was worth it to him. Even though it might have caused him a lot of grief, he wanted to get the story out, and that was his goal, is to get the story out. Dying to tell the story is what his sister, Amy, created, like a documentary called Dying to Tell the Story. So that was his way, is he was dying to tell the story, and he actually did die to tell the story. And I was talking to Miss Jay about it yesterday, and I said, you know, I think if Dan knew that he was going to die, he still would have done everything he did. And to inspire people, if he had to die, I think Dan would have done that, because he just cared about people so much, and cared about people in such a creative way that Creative Visions, which is run by Kathy and Amy, his mom and sister, they created Creative Visions from Dan. And we all know about Invisible Children, the child soldiers in Sudan, I think. And that was funded by Creative Visions. So Dan, through his death, has really inspired a lot of people to live. And that's the story about Dan, and that's why Dan is so important to us, is because he dedicated his whole life to helping others, and till his death was always in it to help other people. And that's Dan. You can look at his journals, they're really cool, and I love him very much. To me, it feels like I know him, because I just know all about his life, and just seeing his journals and reading it, you can tell who he was, and he just looks like such an interesting person. And these are just all his journals. He's really fun.